Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a throwaway account in the Relationship Advice subreddit. The post is titled, "My mother tried to trick me in joining my sister for dinner after she tested me around her husband. My sister recently got married. It's been about 3 to 4 months. I haven't really seen much of them after the wedding, but once a month our family all gets together and my parents host a huge feast. Since this took place a week ago, it was for the month of August. During this dinner, my brother-in-law was being extremely weird towards me. He was complimenting my body, ignoring my sister, and just acting so strange. It was completely unexpected for several reasons. One being that his wife was sitting right next to me. 2, he has only been married a few months. And 3, he has never spoken to or about me like that before. I felt really uncomfortable and I'm sure it showed because honestly, what the heck? What was even weirder was that nobody pointed anything out. I was extremely confused and just wanted to leave. I left early, but when I got home, I felt so icky. I don't even know how to describe it. I decided to message my sister and let her know that his behavior made me uncomfortable. I told her that it was concerning he felt comfortable enough to say these things in front of my parents and brother. I explained that if she didn't feel comfortable being in the middle, I wouldn't mind explaining this to him myself. His behavior was so unnerving that I FaceTimed my boyfriend who was away for work in the US. I told him it was weird and how suddenly my Bill's behavior towards me went from that of siblings to this horribly uncomfortable situation. He was pissed, rightfully so. My sister didn't respond to my text until the next day. She asked to meet up, so I did. I expected her to be upset and for him to apologize for what he said. Instead, she admitted it was all a test and that I passed. I was confused, to say the least. What did she mean by a test? Passed? What was going on? It turns out she had her husband act that way on purpose because she wanted to see how I would react if he had said those things to me and meant them. My reaction and choice to message her afterward told her I could be trusted around him. I was offended, to say the least. Why would she think I couldn't be trusted? My sister has been married before. She was 27 and the divorce happened about 10 months into the marriage. Her ex was a psycho, to say the least. He had known me longer than he did my sister. I was the one who introduced them. They got along well and eventually started dating. It looked like the healthiest and most romantic relationship on the planet, except when they got married. During their marriage, I stayed with them because it was a closer commute to work. My underwear would often go missing. It started off small, I just assumed it got mixed up in my sister's laundry and would turn up eventually. But it was happening more frequently, to the point that I was buying underwear almost weekly. I kept pressuring my sister to admit she was stealing my underwear, but she was adamant it wasn't her. I decided to just ignore it and go about my day. Something I hadn't even considered as an option was the real reason. My brother-in-law was stealing my underwear. I don't know, nor did I want to know what he was doing with it when I found out, but I was so disgusted and confused. Someone I thought was my friend was actually just a perv. He admitted he had never really loved my sister and was just using her to get to me. I was so creeped out that I pressed charges against him for his sickening behavior. I was able to get a restraining order and my sister divorced him almost instantly after finding out. She used something traumatic that happened to me and flipped it to make it seem like I was the one who was untrustworthy. She claimed I must have strung him along for him to think like that, and this test was just to prove I wasn't doing it again. Safe to say, I was extremely hurt and angry by her response, so I told her to never speak or contact me again if that's what she really thought of me. My family found out and for the most part they agree her behavior is crazy, but my mother stood by her actions and said my sister was just trying to protect herself from being hurt again. I told her if my sister had just been honest with me from the start, I wouldn't have been as bothered. There's a right way to approach things and a wrong way. This isn't just wrong, it's also crazy. Why is she so adamant that it's my life goal to hurt her? I didn't know that her ex was going to turn out like that, so why am I being punished? She claimed I should have had some indication he liked me, but he really made it seem like he was head over heels for my sister. How am I supposed to know what's going on in someone else's mind? Anyway, the family dinner was earlier this month as it was the most compatible date for everyone's schedules. I told my parents to expect me not to show up if my sister and Bill were going. It wasn't even because I refused to ever speak to her again. I had just said that because the situation was so fresh. I told my mother I would apologize when I had cooled down a little. It was just difficult to face them when they made me feel like a horrible person for a situation that was out of my control. My mother assured me that my sister wouldn't attend, so I agreed to come. When I arrived, they were both there. It felt like an ambush, and it sort of was. My sister demanded that I apologize for my reaction because in her view, it was my own fault it happened in the first place. I can't lie, I snapped. I told her she should remove my number and the title of being my sister if she really felt that way. I just need advice because therapy isn't scheduled for another 2 weeks and I feel like I just dreamt a soap opera storyline. I feel kind of bad because I understand my sister had her trust broken completely by her ex, but I feel like that distrust shouldn't be aimed at me but at the person who actually caused it. And I was the one who introduced her to the asshole in the first place, so I already feel guilty for that. But I'm failing to see how her schemes to manipulate me into thinking she's being wronged by a husband once again are just far too extreme. I want to apologize to her for one reason, ever introducing that man to her. I really need her to see that I wasn't trying anything when her ex was stealing my underwear. I was just as in the dark as she was. How do I go about doing this? I want to put this behind me and move on. I was just about healing from her former marriage, and now this situation is also putting me in a very uncomfortable position with my sister, my BIL, and my own mother. Any advice on how to tackle apologizing, getting my sister's trust back, and showing her that I truly just want the best for her? User It's All Mine Now said, stop accepting the blame for something you had no part in other than being the victim. Your sister's ex was stalking you and she was caught in the crossfire. As for all this drama with her new husband, you have nothing to apologize for there either. Honestly, your sister and your mom are crazy. They're blaming you for the fact that your sister came into contact with a crazy person who was stalking you and fell for him. Then, to absolve her of all the blame for not realizing what was going on, it has become all your fault. Do not apologize and do not make compromises with them. Your sister is a horrible, disrespectful person, and I would cut all contact with her until she makes some kind of apology and shows contrition. You are being painted as the bad guy because something bad happened to you. Personally, I would remove myself from both their lives until they either see the light or never see me again. You don't need your sister's trust back. She literally played you with some weird fake test to prove you were honest when you had never been dishonest in the first place. Screw those people. Get angry. You are being disrespected in this situation just as much as you were disrespected by that horrible jerk she married. The fact that the other two went along with this makes them as bad as she is. I could not sit in a room with these three awful people for even a moment without some major apologizing and ass kissing, and even then I would most likely never be able to speak civilly to them again. User So That Just Happened said, the level of manipulation and gaslighting going on here is astonishing, and the fact that you even feel the need to apologize is a result of that manipulation and gaslighting. You have literally done nothing wrong. There is a difference between feeling empathy for your sister for going through the horrible situation she experienced with her ex and actually needing to apologize for it. There are multiple people who should be apologizing in this situation, and none of them are you. Your sister for doing something so manipulative and disgusting to you and then acting like you somehow deserved it. Your brother-in-law for being messed up enough to go along with it. He should have had enough sense and respect for you to not participate, regardless of what your sister said. Your mom or any other family member who actually knew what was happening and didn't have the decency to put a stop to it. You clearly have a good heart and love your family, but your mind is being messed with. Stand up for yourself and demand an apology. Update. A lot has happened in the last couple of days. I have tried to read all the comments and taken everyone's advice. This has been the outcome. I lost a sister and a mother in 2 days. It's heartbreaking more than anything. I had a meetup with everyone. My boyfriend came with me for support during the conversation. Honestly, it was hard to look at any of them after the way they treated me. I'm so thankful to everyone for opening my eyes to the crazy behavior exhibited in the first part of this story. In front of everyone, my mother admitted to knowing about the plans from the start. My sister confided in her and she agreed it was a good idea. She supported her son-in-law openly harassing her daughter. I'm in complete shock, and it just hurts so much knowing she would condone this, especially considering how much I was affected by my sister's first husband. She knew I was having a difficult time in therapy. It took me a long time to trust people again after that, and I feel like once again my trust has been broken. I don't know how I'm ever going to trust anyone again. I'm really thankful my boyfriend was there to comfort me because it was so hard to keep my composure around them. My sister was not budging at all. She kept insisting she was in the right. She said the only reason I wouldn't apologize is that deep down I knew what her ex was like. She claimed I just liked getting attention from him, knowing he was married to my sister. She also said I overreacted and that if it's acting, then it's not harassment. I told her she shouldn't expect any calls or texts from me until I receive the apology I deserve from both her and my brother-in-law. Speaking of which, he was pretty silent throughout the whole thing, probably because my father threatened his life if he spoke badly about me. He did say that the only reason he went along with it was to placate my sister because she kept accusing him of ogling me, but still, no apology from him. My mother broke my heart the most. She told me I was exaggerating and that I should be happy to have passed my sister's test. She actually said the words, "We can all move on now." I was in complete awe. I asked why she was supporting such delusional behavior. She said it was because she loved my sister and wanted her to be happy. I asked her if she loved me as much as my sister. She said yes, but it seemed hesitant, though I don't want to read too much into that. I told her I wanted an apology for her schemes. She refused, so I gave her the same conditions I gave my sister and brother-in-law. Until I get an apology, I simply will not speak to all three of them. As a result, I will probably have to go low contact with my brother and dad because they both live with my mother. I'll hang out with them outside and without her presence, but whether she'll allow that is the question. I know some of you have suggested spending time with my boyfriend's family during holidays and special occasions. I haven't met my boyfriend's family before because they live in the US, but after this situation, I've taken a 2-week paid holiday for the end of this month, and he's taking me to meet them for the first time. I hope it goes well because they might be the only family I have now. My therapy session has been moved to tomorrow because I requested an emergency appointment. Wish me luck. Anyway, my biggest thanks go to all you Redditors for helping me see the situation for what it was. I'm really grateful for your advice and compassion. I don't think I would have been able to get through this on my own. It's likely I would have caved and apologized just for the pattern to repeat itself. Truly, thank you so much. Wishing you all the best, and I hope you know that your advice might have just saved me from my need to always please others. I'll look back on this moment anytime I feel like putting someone else's feelings above my own comfort. Update 2. To be honest, there hasn't been much to update on in that particular situation. I am in contact with my mom now since the incident because she apologized. My sister and I still do not speak. From what I know, she is still married to my brother-in-law and I think they're expecting. I am doing a lot better though. I've become closer with my dad and brother throughout everything. My relationship with my mother is more strained now. I feel like I still can't trust her, even though she apologized. I don't think we will ever be as close as we were before my sister's schemes. My relationship is going really well too. He was asking about rings, so I'm thinking a proposal might be in my future. Also, his parents are just the best. They've sort of taken me in and it's so cute how they dote on me like I'm their daughter. His whole family is incredibly supportive and uplifting. We're going to visit them again in July, and I'm so excited to go back. I love it in the US, the weather is better, the people are nicer, and of course, I get to see where my man grew up. I just feel so much lighter and happier now that I've put behind me what my ex Bill and current Bill have put me through. I wish her the best with her pregnancy, but that's all I can do since she is still refusing to apologize. This probably wasn't the update you were looking for, but it's all I can give at this moment. Hope you're all having a wonderful day and a better summer than I'm having. Final update. This is probably the hardest thing I've ever had to admit to myself. I wish it didn't have to come to this, but unfortunately, I think it's the only way I will ever get to live a normal life again. My sister has been telling our family members an entirely warped version of events. I only found out when I sent out save the dates. I got a call from an aunt telling me I was brave for inviting all these people after ruining my sister's life. I was so confused, so I asked her what she meant. She elaborated a little by saying that I was wrong for trying to seduce both of my sister's husbands and that my fiance was an idiot for supporting me. I laughed. First, I told her to watch what she said about my soon-to-be husband. He's the only support I've had during this horrible moment in my life. Then I told her what truly went down. She was shocked and didn't believe me. I told her she could easily go to my parents and brother to confirm it. She informed me that my mother had already confirmed things for her. I was so pissed off. Words can't describe the anger that I felt in that moment. It was like everything I had gone through in the past few years had all piled up and I couldn't take it anymore. I just hung up the phone. I called my mother, who had been begging for my forgiveness a few months ago. I told her I was done. She supported my delusional sister in her crazy schemes, and I forgave her. Out of the goodness of my heart, I chose to put that behind me so I wouldn't lose my mother. But she went behind my back and sided with my sister in front of our extended family. She made everyone think I was callous enough to seduce my own brothers-in-law. She allowed people to spread lies about her own daughter. I told her I never wanted to see or speak to her again. I called my brother and asked him if he knew any of this had been happening. Thankfully, he didn't. Neither did my dad. I then wrote a letter to my sister. The details of the letter held 4 main points. That I was deeply sorry for everything she had been through. It did not mean I understood or forgave her actions, but I was apologetic for how things turned out. She needed to seek help for what my former Bill put her through. I was stunned by the fact that she thought she could lie about what happened to everyone and get away with it. She had truly lost the right to call herself my sister from that point on. I wished her the very best in life, but I never wanted to see or hear from her ever again. She has caused me far too much pain for me to ever be able to forgive her. I will never speak to, reach out to, or even entertain the idea of reconciling with my mother or sister again. It is up to my father and brother whether they choose to associate with them, but for me, everything is too unfixable. The lies have stacked up so much that there isn't a pair of scissors sharp enough to cut through. My fiancé and I have decided that with everything that has happened, we will just have a town hall wedding. Just a couple of witnesses and us. I'm so eternally grateful to have found him. He's my entire world. And without him here to talk me out of a breakdown, I might never have survived. Family is not always who you are born with, but those you meet along the way. I've been incredibly lucky to have met some of the best people with whom I can start my own family. It is with great sadness that I make this update. It is my own fault for believing in the best of people. To think that I would ever get an apology is just so naive, but I think this may have been a blessing in disguise. At the very least, I'm choosing to see it that way. This chapter of my life is officially over, and I can now move on to better and brighter things. Thank you all for tuning into this portion of my life. Love you all, and I hope that you all have better luck with family members than I have. User Keck said, "It's kind of hard to believe that my brother and dad have no idea that so many people in the family are believing this crazy narrative." To this, OP said, "My dad doesn't speak to my mom's side at all. He hates them. He had no idea this fake story was going around to my aunties. Growing up, we would always defend him to my grandma, aunties, and uncles. It makes it worse that my sister went to them to tell this distorted version of events when they don't even like our dad. She's selfish and will do anything to make people believe her. It's partly why I don't bother correcting them. They're going to believe what they want to believe, no matter how much proof I have. My mom's side already doesn't like me because I'm with a white guy. They think I'm ashamed of my culture, even though I was fully planning on having an Indian wedding." User Soda Butt Wolf said, "Sorry you're going through this. What your mother and sister have done to you is just rotten. I'm surprised your dad is sticking around, because when one parent actively favors one child to the point of voluntarily wrecking the reputation of the other child and breaking the family that way, it should cause the other parent to reflect on his or her marriage, and not in a good way. I hope your dad and brother are assertive in standing up for you and helping you get your story out there. I also hope that you don't give up on having an actual ceremonial wedding just because your mother and sister need to be permanently out of your life. You can still have a lovely wedding with your fiance's family, with the friends who love and support you, and maybe even with your dad, brother, and your dad's side of the family. If a town hall wedding is what you actually want, then by all means do that and save a ton of money and planning hassle. If not, then have the wedding you do want. Just trim the guest list by excluding your mother, sister, and everyone who supports their story." Under this, OP said, "Honestly, I've lost contact with my dad too now. He acknowledges the craziness but doesn't do anything about it. I know he doesn't want to burn more bridges with my mom because he blames himself for the rift between her and her parents, but I don't understand how he can tolerate her putting me through so much stress." My brother is amazing though. He's continued to have my back through everything. He only tolerated my mother while he was under her roof, but since he's moved out, he doesn't speak to her. He cut off my sister and Bill immediately after the incident. The urge to cancel the wedding was a result of all the stress I'd been feeling, wondering whether my mom and sister would somehow ruin my wedding, but I have definitely changed my mind. It's just going to be a way smaller ceremony, and I will wear a lehenga because that's what I always imagined wearing when I thought about getting married. I'm not going to let them bully me into having an English wedding just because I'm not marrying someone who's Indian. And the fewer people, the less money we're spending anyway. We've changed everything though, the date, venue, and everything, because we don't want them showing up unannounced. It's been moved to a later date because I want to work through my trauma a bit more before my fresh start with my new family. This next post was made in the AITAH subreddit by a user named Big Classic. The post is titled AITAH for refusing to take my girlfriend back after she cheated to see if she still had it. I've been dating my girlfriend Rachel for 2 years. She's always been confident and charismatic, which is one of the things I loved about her. Our relationship seemed solid, good communication, lots of shared interests, and we were even talking about moving in together. A few weeks ago, Rachel admitted to me that she cheated on me during a night out with her friends. She hooked up with some guy she met at a bar. I was completely blindsided. When I asked her why she did it, she said it wasn't about me or our relationship, but because she wanted to see if she still had it. I told her that was a terrible excuse, and she started crying, saying it was a stupid mistake and that she regretted it immediately. She's begged me to forgive her, saying she learned her lesson and that it would never happen again. But I can't get over the fact that she was willing to risk our relationship for something so shallow. She didn't cheat because she was unhappy or because there was a problem between us. She cheated purely to stroke her ego. Now, Rachel and some of our mutual friends are calling me unforgiving, saying that everyone makes mistakes and that I'm throwing away a great relationship over one bad choice. They say I should focus on her remorse and give her another chance. I feel like staying with her would mean betraying my own boundaries, but I'm starting to wonder if I'm being too harsh. User Whirlwind said, definitely NTA, cheating is a serious betrayal, and wanting to see if she still had it is a terrible excuse. Stick to your boundaries and find someone who respects your relationship. User Winterfront said, dump the friends who think you should forgive someone for dropping their knickers just to see if she still could. Vile. Tell her she can go out and stroke her ego as much as she wants now.